Okay, so sorry. Welcome to my channel. This is like a video I never thought I would make, really, to be honest. I just want to preface this by saying this is not like one of my normal videos. This is gonna be like more of like a not sad video, but just like more emotional and vulnerable video. Um, I sorry. I This isn't like one of my normal videos where, usually it's funny and I'm trying to make people laugh. This is usually something that's pretty serious for me. But basically, today I want to talk about some things that have been happening for the past, to me at least, the past month. And I understand I look rough. I'm not looking the best. I've been going through a lot recently. And because of that, I'm not really my best self right now. I haven't been for the past couple months. But I just want to say, this isn't to get attention from nobody because I could honestly care less. This is just to show relatability and rawness and vulnerability, and I think that a lot of people might relate to me on this level, and I feel like I needed to make this video for my own closure and my own self. But basically, today I'm going to talk about a relationship I was in that didn't end the best, and I want to talk about it because I can. It's my business, it's my life. I don't really care who the fuck has anything to say, because at the end of the day, it's my life, and it's not like he's gonna see this anyways. It's not like he watched any of my shit anyways, so I really could care less. But this isn't to come after anybody or throw anybody's name in the mud, because I'm not gonna be name dropping. I don't really want that, nor do I care to. But I just want to talk about it. And I even have a notebook. I wrote down some key points, so if you're wondering what I'm looking at, that's what I'm looking at. I wrote down some key points about different things I want to talk about. The key points are basically pretty simple. We have the beginning, the move, the arguing, the switch, finding out, confrontation, leaving, coping, moving on, the end. Those are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points that I wanted to get onto this video, and I just wanted to do. I had to write them down so I know what I was talking about. But yeah, basically, I just want to say that, like, I'm okay personally. I think, at least I'm as okay as someone could be. And like I said, I didn't think I would even. It's even gaggy to me even that I'm sitting down and filming this. I honestly thought I was gonna be able to move on from it, but recently things have gotten worse for me, like mentally, with the situation, and I feel like if I do this, maybe it'll help some, and also it might help somebody that's out there that's also going through the same thing or been through similar things. And this isn't like a cry for help, but it's just more of like something I need to do in order to help me move on. But basically, I guess to get started, is I was in a relationship with somebody for 6 months, and I was extremely and madly in love with this person, and it ended with him cheating on me, and things didn't go the way I wanted to. And I'm also uploading this video because I've had a lot of people in my life ask me about exactly what went wrong, what happened, because online we were a happy like couple. Everyone thought everything was fine, and I thought everything was fine. And then the last months that we were together, it just went to shit. And if I cry, I'm sorry. It's just, it still kind of hurts in a way. No one really talks about the betrayal of being cheated on, especially with somebody that you were really in love with. So I guess some background. Before him, I had never really had like a real boyfriend, and he was like my first love, my first everything. I'm not getting into details about that because it's kind of nobody's business, but he was like my first, like, you think of it, and he was my first of everything. And this relationship is what they call a karmic relationship. He really showed me things about myself that I needed to work on, self-respect wise, and things that I needed to do in order to heal myself. So we're gonna start with the beginning. That's the first key point. At the beginning of our relationship, we met when I was 17, and I'm not going to disclose his age because it's quite frankly nobody's business, and I really don't want to hear anybody say anything on the internet because everybody has different, you know, opinions on age gaps. But we met when I was 17. It was never romantic when I met when I was 17. We met because we were working together. He was working in the back of a restaurant I was working at, and I was working in the front as a server. We met in June 2025, and we were just friends. It was nothing past that. And then one day he had quit and just randomly left, and I had also quit a couple weeks after him and didn't really get contact with him. And then October of 2025, after my 18th birthday, I was 18 at the time, that we started like talking. We got back into contact, and we were kind of on and off between October and November. And then in December, we had like seriously started talking like that. And then in January of this year, I want to say January 2nd or January 3rd, we had finally met up after, it had been since last year, since June. And we hung out for the first time ever. And things just kind of went on from there. We kept talking. We discussed about being in a relationship with each other. And I told him, that like I wanted to be in a relationship with him. And I also think that it's important detail to add that like he was a DL man. He was not out of the closet. So I was never really loved in the way that I needed to be. And I wish I could say I don't hold resentment towards him or anybody that was involved in this entire process, but that would be me lying. That's not true. That's actually furthest from the truth. I hold a lot of resentment and a lot of anger, and a lot of people have their different opinions on it and think that I should stop talking about it, but at the end of the day, it's my story, and it was my relationship and my betrayal that I went through, so I'm allowed to speak on it however long I want to. But we started dating back in February of this year, and at the time I had lived with my father in another town, and I had finished up my senior year over there. And yeah, so things progressed from there. We had, developed a type of relationship I had never felt with anybody before, and sort of closeness. So yeah. And then in May of 2025, I had moved back to my hometown, which is where he actually lived at. And part of me wants to lie and say I moved back here because I felt happier here and I wanted to be around my friends and family, but that would be a lie. I wasn't not happy where I was living at with my dad. It's just I wanted to move over here to be closer to him, and yeah, he was my main reason of moving over here. And yeah, I did tell him that I didn't move over here because of him, because I didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to seem like I did this because of him, but in all reality, I did because I was so in love with him that I just wanted to be closer to him. I just wanted to be around him all the time, and I moved to be closer to him. And in the first month of me living over here, everything was fine. Everything was normal. And he came over all the time. I saw him all the time. We were together all the time. And then things had changed. And I remember distinctively when it was. I want to say around the middle of June, which I later found out. Sorry. I later found out that he was actively pursuing another girl around this time, and it makes a lot of sense now, but back then I didn't know. In June, in the middle of June of this year, we had gotten into an argument over something, and we never really argued. It was like a pretty bad argument. It was pretty serious. And it was just me arguing to him about how I didn't think that he respected me or my time, or, wanted to be really around me. And I truly thought that I had gone insane. I thought that, like, it was something wrong with me. I thought that, maybe I was just being a crazy obsessive boyfriend. And I just thought that, I was doing too much, and it was really hard. But then after that argument, we started arguing all the time. And a lot of it, I guess people will say it was because I don't know what his side of the story is. I don't really care either. at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, he's in the wrong. And I don't care if anyone has anything to say about, oh, well, this and that. That's not really any of my concern. At the end of the day, I am the victim in this situation. I was the one that ended up hurt. I was the one that ended up having to deal with, that has to deal with all of this now, and doesn't know how to handle this exactly. But basically, he was arguing with me constantly, and we were just arguing back and forth the entire month, and it wouldn't stop. And there was a lot of things that miscommunication wise that we were arguing about, and then a lot of things of just like, he just stopped wanting to see me. Like, he just stopped seeing me. He rarely would come and ever see me, and then he would make up an excuse as to that he, had to do this and that. And a lot of times he won't admit to this, and I don't think he ever will, but I think a lot of it was he was manipulating me and guilt tripping me, which I didn't see it then, but I see it now, like everyone told me. I don't care what anyone has to say. At the end of the day, I'm a grown ass adult. I pay my own bills. I work a full time job. I'm going to school. I do my own shit. I don't care if I'm only 18. I'm a grown ass man. Like, that, point period blank. I don't live with my parents. I live on my own by myself. And I didn't realize it then, but I do now, is I think the main reason why it was so easy for him to manipulate me was because I was so young and so dumb, and was just malleable to that type of, I guess, mistreatment and emotional abuse, because he did emotionally abuse me. Like, I'm sorry, but you sitting there and literally mind fucking me constantly, that is emotional abuse. And, no one really cares to hear my side of the story, and that's only for the simple fact of I didn't really go into it or go into depth about it, because at the end of the day, it's like, what the fuck was the point anyways? Nobody was gonna listen to me. But now I'm tired of being silenced. I don't care. I don't care how it makes anybody feel. I don't care how misunderstanding or misconstrued it might come off as. I have receipts and proof of everything that I went through, and that's all that matters. And it's the fact that people still want to say shit and still don't believe me. And another thing I want to add to this is, to everybody that has been, and I know, and I already know, I'm not like some fucking super influencer, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about my following in general, though. A lot of people have said a lot of shit about, like, shit to me directly online, specifically my DMs, and this is probably why I have been so depressed that, oh, I've moved on so quickly, and oh, I've moved on, and I've done this and this and that. Here's the thing. I didn't move on quickly. He moved on while we were in the relationship. I have at least the entitlement to want to move on whenever and however the fuck I want to. Who I mess around with, who I sleep with, who I talk to, is quite frankly nobody else's business but my own. And I don't care how anybody else feels about that. If you have an issue with it, that sounds like a you problem. Maybe not be so nosy in people's lives. I don't know. And also, not to mention, yeah, I moved on pretty quickly. You want to know why? Because the month leading up before our breakup, I had went through so much mental torment and so much mental hell. I grieved our relationship before it was even over. And that's why a month later, it's just now hitting me how much this is affecting me. Because this past month, I guess I just haven't been dealing with it the best, and I've been, I think, fine, but I really haven't been. But whatever. My next key point is called the switch, and the reason why I say the switch is because this is when things went downhill. Towards the end of June, beginning of July, right before I found out that he cheated on me, everything just fucking flipped. Like, it was like a switch just flipped like that, and we were arguing all the time. He didn't ever want to come and see me. He never made any plans to come and see me. Mind you, this man lived literally 8 minutes away from me, y'all. 8 minutes. When I lived with my dad, he lived over an hour and 30 minutes and made it his life's mission to come and see me every single fucking weekend. So as you can see, you can understand why I fell so deeply in love with him, was because I thought this was someone genuine. And then he also told me that he wanted to build a life with me and wanted to marry me. Yeah. Talk about manipulation at its fucking finest. Literally fucked me over so bad. I, like, literally was like, what the fuck? But basically that happened or whatever. And the funny thing is it was just this whole fucking thing. Well, I found out when I found out was in the most inconvenient way possible, and probably the most terrible timing ever. And so basically what happened was a couple months before it happened, he had told me that he was going out of state to go on a trip with his friends. I asked to meet some of said friends. He said that was a fine. Well, a week before his trip, which mind you, he had told me the trip was at the end of July, and apparently it was the second week of July, I believe. He had told me that he was going to, that he was, what was it he said? He said that he couldn't introduce me to his friends anymore. And I thought it was weird at first, and I didn't think much of it. I was kind of suspicious of it, but I was just like, okay, I need to stop being paranoid. And it was, he really liked to play the, oh, I'm in the closet card a lot, and that's the reason why he never showed me off. And I know what everyone is thinking, and probably why, oh, well, why didn't you out him, or oh, why didn't you do this? And the simple answer to that is because I don't have the heart to do that. I know how it feels to be outed, and I'm not going to do that to somebody else. Second of all, karma is very real. I dealt with my karma last year. 2025 was a year of hell for me. I went through so much shit, so much pain, so much hurt. I dealt with a lot in 2025. A lot of stuff that I don't feel comfortable sharing on the internet and probably will never tell people. And a lot of things happened to me that year that is hard to even put into words. And that was my karma for how badly I treated people, because I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't always just a good person. I, had issues, and it was because of things going on in my home life. And I was also a teenager and going through a lot. But basically, he goes on this trip, and I, told myself, oh, I'm not gonna stalk his friends' socials. I'm not gonna stalk his friends' socials of the people that he went on the trip with. And then I ended up doing it. And I kept keeping an eye on it, and it was just kind of weird, kept going back and forth, right? Well, one of the trips that on the trip that he went with, there was a girl that he was friends with that at the time I wasn't aware of. They had a history, like a history, and I didn't find out till later on after we broke up. And first of all, that was just fucking mind boggling to me, that I don't understand why he didn't want to mention that to me, which obviously I think it's pretty obvious. It's because, like, who the hell's gonna mention that shit, especially if they're cheating on you? Because, like, then that would fuck up their plans of cheating on you. But he basically went on this trip, and me and Blake were at my house, and the night before, we had some friends over. We had a little party hardy at my house, and the next morning we woke up, the other two friends left, and me and Blake were just at the house, and we had planned to go hiking. And I told Blake, I was like, oh, I want to go hiking, because my anxiety was just so bad because of him being on this trip. I didn't like that he was out of state and away from me because of all the shit that we've been going through. Mind you, I want to say this before I tell you exactly how I found out, that he told me beforehand, one, not to worry about this girl because there was nothing going on between them. If a man ever tells you that, don't believe that shit. It's most 9 times out of 10, they're messing around with said girl. I don't do girl best friends anymore. I will not do that again, because that just fucked me in the head. And I'm not saying that if I ever get in another relationship in the future, that my partner can't have like girlfriends. But it's like, if they're not introducing you to said friends, or they're not, doing anything like that, or if they're like, whatever, then don't trust it, because there's no fucking way, and they're most likely lying to you. But basically, the weekend before he went on this trip, we got into a huge, not the weekend, I think it was a couple days before he went on this trip, we got into a huge argument, which, by the way, always ended up me apologizing because I felt like I was doing something wrong, when in reality, it was just him not doing his part in our relationship. And he tells me that, I told him, I'm like, oh, I want to start fresh. I want to redo. Like, I want to start over. I want us to, really, just start fresh and start over, and, quit the arguing and this and that, because we've been arguing so much at this point. Never in this sentence or this conversation, not even at all through our entire relationship, did I ever say I wanted to take a break. There was no such thing as a break. I don't believe in breaks, because usually what breaks mean is, a lot of people, they get that misconstrued as, oh, I can go and sleep with other people, or I can go be with other people. And I don't believe in breaks, because usually you take one break, then more breaks happen, and then more breaks and more breaks, and then a break up. And so I just don't believe in that bullshit. Well, he goes on this trip. Me and Blake go hiking, and me and Blake get done with our hike, and we come back, and I was like, oh, let's go to Chili's or whatever. And I tried pulling up one of his friends' profiles, but it wasn't loading at the time because I had no signal. Well, we were at Chili's getting the food or whatever. Well, we stopped by the gas station because he had to get gas, and I go to the story, and I see on the story her holding hand. I go on his friend's story, the girl that he cheated on me with. I go on her story and I see that she's holding hands with him on the beach. And I remember in that moment, my heart dropped to my stomach. I felt like the entire world had just stopped completely. Like, I felt like my world had basically just ended because I was like, what the fuck? And I was in such denial for the longest time because I was like, there's no way that's him, there's no way that's him, there's no way that's him. And then I saw more and more pictures and more things, and I was like, okay, okay, okay. Mind you, this happened on a Friday. I didn't see him again until I think either Tuesday or Wednesday. I found out about it. And the worst part about all of this is I wanted to confront him in person. I did not want to confront him over the phone. So I acted like everything was fine until I saw him in person, which was, it was difficult because how do you act like everything's fine? Like, how do you do that? And mind you, the entire time he's on this trip, he's telling me that he loves me, that he's not gonna leave me, and that everything's fine, this and this and that. And it's just the fact that I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my god, he's sleeping with this girl. He's sleeping in the same bed as this girl. You know, he's probably kissing up on this girl. And it was a lot mentally. Mentally, it was a lot. I felt like I was literally, I thought my life was over. Not because of him, but because this was a man that promised a future with me. This was a man that I was supposed to be building a future with. A man that I wasted so many months on and built emotional connection with. And to him, I was just another body. I was nothing else to him other than that. I was literally nothing to him. He never was gonna love me the way I needed him to love me. And it's like every single moment that I thought he actually loved me, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my god, like, he didn't love me. He loved the idea of me. He loved the thrill of me. He loved the experimenting with me. He loved everything else about me but me. He didn't love me. He loved the concept of me. And that's what hurt the most, was having to learn that, like, I'm never gonna get the closure I need. I'm sorry. This is a really hard topic for me. And I didn't think that and the thing is I haven't had an issue talking about it, but recently things have gotten worse about it. But it was just in that moment, in that gas station, I'm never not gonna be able to not relive that. And it's like all I could think about was, this man has met my family. This man has been so involved in my life. This man has been to my went to my graduation. This man did all these things with me, and it's like it was over like that in an instant. And it was like, even to most people that might be like, oh, 6 months isn't that really that long of a time, but it's like, really think about that and really try to, like, truly grasp the time concept on that. I spent 6 months of my life, half a year of my life, waiting on this man, trying to get him to prove that he loved me, that he wanted me, just to find out that, sorry, it was just a lot. Well, I had to keep on pretending like things were fine, even though that took the worst toll on me ever. I had no appetite at all. I had never felt that feeling in my life. I was so sick to my stomach constantly. I didn't eat for about 3 days. I didn't take care of myself. And even when I tried to eat, I ended up either A, throwing it up, or I didn't eat that much. I had lost over 20 pounds from our relationship because of how much stress he had put me through the last 2 months that we were together. And it was just like, I just felt disgusting in my own skin. I felt gross. I wanted to literally just rip every part of my skin off my body. And what's even the worst part about all of this is the fact that I told the girl, ended up telling her, and she still stayed with him, even though that he literally cheated on her too and lied to her. That makes no sense to me, but whatever. And the worst part of it all is because she empathized with me and she was really nice to me, and I thought that me and her were chill. Like, I thought everything was good. I truly did believe that this girl was on my side. I'm not trying to be like, oh, sides or whatever, but it's like, why would you sit there and play in my face and then go right behind my back and still be with the said man that you know did all this shit to me? And that's when I learned, people are gonna love who they love and not really care. And that's what I'm saying is even though, yes, I am upset and angry, I'm not upset or angry with this girl. I could honestly care less. Honest to God, hope he is treating her better than me. I'm that type of person, the best way for me to move on is to just block and move on. I don't keep track of shit like that. I have no desire to keep track of any of that stuff, nor do I care, because all it's gonna do is cause me pain at the end of the day. And like I said, I really do hope that he is treating her better than he did me. But I still think that I just don't understand it. Like, why would you stay with somebody that did this to somebody else, but you preach self respect? It made no sense to me. It truly made zero sense to me. And like I said, it's like, you know what? She probably has her own reasons. She probably really loved him and cared for him, and I know what it feels like to love him, and I know how easy it is for this dumbass man to sit there and lie and manipulate someone into loving him. And I get it. He has this allure to him that made me fall in love with him, and she's probably fell in love with the same allure. So I get it. It's like, I get it. And that's why I don't really hold resentment towards her nor anger, because it's not necessarily her fault. And I mean, she wasn't rude to me, hasn't been rude to me or mean in any way, shape, or form. I just think that, it's whatever. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and this is probably a really hard thing that a lot of people can't own up and say, yeah, I am jealous. I am jealous that it wasn't me that got chosen. I'm jealous that he went and did this to me. I'm jealous that I didn't understand what was it about her that he had that was so much better than me. And this isn't me to bash her or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I just didn't understand it completely. But sometimes I wish I could just scream at him and just tell him about how much he fucked up my life and how much I'm hurting and how it's not fair that he gets to move on. And that's the part I'm jealous about. Is I'm jealous because it's like, why do you get to move on, but I have to still sit here and be stuck in this position of where I'm just in this like limerence and like this depression and this like hole and this void that I just can't seem to fill. I don't understand. And I probably won't ever understand. And, I've had to come to terms that that's okay. I have a lot of good things going for me in life. It's just, it sucks. So, but basically, the confrontation, a couple of days after he got back, which is my next key point, confrontation, a couple of days back after he got back from his trip, he comes to my house, and I'm not going to get into too many details because I'll be sitting here for hours talking about it, but basically, he admitted to cheating on me after I confronted him about it. With said girl, a whole bunch of shit happened. Like, not a whole bunch of shit happened, just a whole bunch of shit was said. I found out that I wasn't the first person he's ever cheated on, that apparently he's cheated on one of his exes in the past before, after he lied to me and told me for months that he had never cheated on anybody, but he'd been cheated on before, which that was another thing I didn't understand is, you like to claim and say people are crazy. Specifically, he would go and tell me all the time that all of his exes were crazy. And then after he broke up, after I broke, no, not he, I broke up with him because I was not going to stay with somebody that cheated on me. He likes to claim and say that he was going to break up with me, but I know at the end of the day that he wasn't going to, that was a lie because he was so scared of breaking up with me because one, he was scared of me outing him to his family because that was his biggest fear. He didn't give a shit about me. It was about the fact that he was scared of me outing his family, which I wasn't going to do. And I told him that time and time again. I just said, if you cheat on me, I'm going to out you to your family. That was a threat that I obviously didn't go through on because at the end of the day, like I said, I'm a better person than that. I'm not going to do that to anybody. The second thing was he likes to say that I was going to not kill, he doesn't say that I was going to kill myself, but he likes to what's that word? Insinuate that was what I was going to do because I later found out that he told her when me and her had a conversation that he went and told her about my past with self-harm, which I'm going to be openly and honest about. The reason why I was having issues with self-harm wasn't because of him, but because of other things revolving around my family life that had nothing to do with him. And I made that very clear to him the day I told him about it, which, mind you, the only reason why he found out was because I had gotten so drunk to the point where I literally felt like I just had to tell him, because at the end of the day, I thought he was my partner. I thought he was going to support me. I didn't think that he was going to use it against me after we got done with the relationship, and then goes and tells her that, oh, I'm just crazy, this and that, and then repeatedly lied to this girl, which is another reason why I didn't understand why she stayed, because he literally was coming up with lie after lie after lie after lie after lie from the get-go. But I think that she just had the benefit of the doubt, which, whatever. But he just basically lied about a bunch of shit. And my next key point is leaving. Leaving was not an easy thing for me. As much as I wanted to sit there and beg him and stay with him and this and that, it was like, literally, what is the point? Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be upset. He's going to just keep redoing it over and over and over again. It was never going to change anything. And so I didn't really know how to go about the situation. And it kind of just left me fucked over. Sorry, it's a little dark in here. I'm filming this really late, in the afternoon or night, whatever the fuck you want to call it. So sun's going down. But it just kind of just fucked me over, essentially. Yeah. So my next key point is coping. After the relationship had ended and I broke up with him and I found out everything, I had went down a very heavy spiral. I was, coping with lots of I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but I was, actively seeking out other men, and trying to just fill that void in my heart, which wasn't like me at all, because I don't do things like that. I've just never been that person that's like, when I was single, yeah, I had like quote unquote hoe life, but like I never was like really a hoe per se. And nor would I still consider myself one, because I have enough for self respect. But I was basically just trying to fill that void in my heart, no matter how much it took. Sorry, I got thirsty. And no matter what I did, wasn't filling it. And so basically, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. I was, partying and drinking and just doing anything I could to just get him out of my mind. And I did that for about a month after the breakup, just to move on. And nothing I did would stop me wanting him or thinking about him. And I'm not saying I want him. I think I want the idea of him. I want the person that I fell in love with, not the person that was created over time through our towards the end of our relationship. I would never want that man ever again. I wanted the person I fell in love with, the man that was kind and gentle, and you know, it just kind of hurts. But it's like, what else can I do? But coping was like, my coping mechanisms weren't the best over it, but it's like I was just doing whatever I could to basically just move on in any way, shape, or form I could. And I still struggle with that a lot. I feel like I struggle with trying to sort of deal with the pain and the betrayal, because it has ruined my perception of love, at least for now. I don't think forever, but at least for now. I think that I'm going to struggle with the rest of my life with trusting my partner, because he isn't the only person that did this to me. He was the third person, I think, third relationship I've been in that has cheated on me. And I know I said, like, he's my first ever relationship or whatever. That was the truth, because he was my first ever relationship. My other two were, like, mainly, like, online, except for one other guy. Me and him, it just, long story for another day. But basically, it was just a lot. My next point is moving on. Moving forward with my life, I've learned to have more self-respect for myself. I obviously did not stay with him after he cheated on me. It took him one good time, and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to be with somebody that cheats on me. Personally, that's just not a me thing. And obviously that has been like a bit of a struggle, because it's like, you know. But moving on with my life, I have learned that, love comes in so many different ways, shapes, and forms, like through my friendships and my family. And I have learned to love myself more. I've been, working on myself. I have learned that love isn't just in a man, and that I have love all around me. And I have so many good things going for me. I have a nice job. I'm going to school. I have so many different goals and so many different things that realistically I knew the relationship wasn't going to last because me and him were on two different timelines. Mind you, he was a little bit older than me. We were on two different timelines, and those were just things that I didn't want. I didn't want, you know, the things that he wanted necessarily, but I don't think that's an excuse to allow him to say it was okay for him to cheat on me. I still don't think that's okay. I think that we could have ended things on better terms and on different like standings and everything, but men will be men. But my last key point is basically the end. The end to saying that, this is like a closing chapter for me in my life, and this past month has really been something else. I think that finding yourself again after a breakup is really hard, especially with someone that you thought you were going to build a life with, especially since this was the first guy that ever really treated me right, at least in the beginning of our relationship. The end of our relationship, he treated me like shit, and he eventually did admit that he was treating me like shit in the last few months of our relationship because he was actively seeking out this other girl because he didn't want to be with me anymore. But he didn't know how to break up with me, and he was just hoping I would break up with him because he was treating me like shit. But the thing is I'm the type of person, I don't just give up on people, and I truly thought that there was something wrong with me, and I was gonna go to therapy and get on my medications and shit because I thought something was wrong with me, when in reality it was nothing wrong with me. And so basically, I'm just saying all this to say, like, if you're in this position or you're with somebody that treats you like this, just know that, like, at the end of the day, it's not your fault. It's not your responsibility to uphold someone else's end of the bargain. It's about learning to love yourself and finding yourself again. And that's truly what I've been doing. I've been finding myself again after losing myself. And I feel like he definitely manipulated me a lot, and I think that's why he said the things that he said about, oh, I was worried you were gonna do this and this and that if I broke up with you, which was a complete bullshit. He only said that because he didn't want me to out him. That was the real reason. He'll never say that, but that was. And he could sit there and lie all day and say that it was really that. But the thing is, at the end of the day, he didn't give two shits about me, because if he really cared about me, he would have never cheated on me. He would have been a man and grew a sack of balls and told me, hey, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. I thought this was going to work out, but I don't think so. And that was another thing I didn't understand. He said that the reason why he broke up with, that he cheated on me was because he doesn't think well, this is what he said at the time. I don't think I'm bi. You don't think you're bi, so you can had said that like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago. And it's like, you didn't think you were bi after like the 20th time of you being inside of me? Like, that makes no fucking sense. And I don't mean to be like fucking TMI, but I really don't care, because that's just the brutal honest truth. How do you not know you're not bi? You're literally in a relationship with a man, and then you're gonna out of nowhere switch up out of nowhere. When in reality, it was just, I was just an experiment for him. It wasn't that he doesn't think he wasn't bi, because newsflash, I wasn't the first fucking man he slept with. So, boo, you should have known this by like the third fucking time. It was just so frustrating. But that is my side of my story for everybody that was wondering and wanting to know. I'm doing okay, as much as I can be. I was really upset and depressed, and I still kind of am. But I'm starting to take it day by day now, and I'm starting to slowly but surely move on. And I learned a lot of lessons from this relationship, and I'm grateful that the relationship happened, because it showed me a lot of things that I needed to know, which one of the biggest ones being, if you're gay and you're young, don't get in those DL relationships. It's not worth it, babe. I promise you. No matter how much you think they love you, they don't. Because if they loved you, they wouldn't be ashamed to show you off. And I learned that the hard way. And that's what hurt the most about it, was because I was never going to be loved out loud by him. But I'm glad, whoever made it to the end here, that you took the time to listen to my story. And I hope that somebody finds comfort in this video or learns from these things. But I will see you guys all next time, and the next video will not be as sad and sappy as this, I promise. So, bye!